So, Craig, are you satisfied with the evening yesterday?
Yeah. I mean, it was a funny situation because Christian, I used to be on Christian's record label, Modern Recordings, and I really loved working with him. He's a really nice guy and also very sort of knowledgeable guy. So, I mean, I don't really do live concerts really. Occasionally, I mean, I did one in Scotland at Celtic Connections. There's a big festival there. But generally, I don't play live so much. But when Christian asked me, I thought, oh, well, I have to do it. And I really enjoyed it. I knew that I was working with Lena, the cellist. So I thought, I think he asked me to do it like maybe a couple of months ago, and he asked me to do like maybe more like film music and score it for cello. And then the more I did that, I thought, wouldn't it be nice if I wrote something new just for the night? So I did that, and quite recently, it was only last week I wrote it.
Yeah, really?
So, yeah. So I sent it to Lena, and I was really hoping that she'd say she likes it. So she did. So and then Gary did some really nice electronics on it, and but I thought it was. Were you there last night?
No, I missed it because I'm so stupid. I thought it was today. And I was in a concert in the concert house at Gendarmenmarkt Sherazade, Rimsky-Korsakov.
Oh, right.
It was wonderful, but I really hate myself that I missed it. So I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, because the whole correspondence with Christian always March 2nd, and then I thought it's today. Yeah, and then I checked it today. It was yesterday.
Oh, that's a
And I know it's unique because you not often give concerts.
No, I don't know. Well, I'm sure there'll be another one sometime.
Hopefully. But is there a special reason that you don't like to give concerts so much, or why?
I think what it was that for a long time, I kind of focused more on doing film scores. And of course that, I mean, I know composers do concerts of their film music, but I just kind of get involved in that. And with BAZ LUHRMANN, it was over a long period of time.
I met him here.
Oh, did you?
Sorry to interrupt.
He's a lovely man.
Australia, that was the film.
Oh, right. No, I didn't do that one.
I know.
That was the only one I didn't do. And
yeah.
And there just wasn't a culture in those days of doing live film scores. So, but I did do some concerts of my solo album work. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I haven't done a lot of live playing. Yeah, I don't know. I suppose for me, for everybody, you've got to ask yourself, like, what do you enjoy? And I like writing the music, and I like making the record.
Okay.
That's my favourite thing. But of course, you do have to promote it a bit. But yeah, there are some people. I mean, I know I have friends who are performers, and they can't wait to get on the stage. You got to pull them off it.
But before you were also involved in band projects.
Yeah.
And then you had also no live concerts. I think you had.
I did have some live in the 90s, I think it was. Was it? Yeah. Massive Attack signed me to their record label. And which was really nice because I'd worked with them for years and years doing the orchestras on the records. And they asked me to sign to their label, which was Melancholic Records. And for some reason, the records did really well in France. And so I did quite a few concerts in Paris and Lyon and all around there. But but recently, I haven't done much concerts. It's true. So this was a special one because I think Christian is, I've got a lot of respect for him as a guy, and also I feel very sorry that he lost his label.
Yeah.
So when he asked me to do it, I thought, I'll do it.
And he was, a long time ago, he was also a drummer for Andreas Dorau. I love the second record. This is, for me, the best teenage pop album of all time.
Is that right?
Really, I love it so much. I can listen again and again and again. When I restored my apartment, I listened 20 times. So I know him also from that time. And then later he was in a high position in for Universal Music and so on. But he's a good guy. And this also now with the new program with you, and also maybe other concerts will follow. Interesting.
Good. Yeah. So it was a lovely night last night. I mean,
and Meistersaal, also legendary place.
Exactly. I'd never been before, and so I mean, the first half was Tamar and Sebastian were playing music from my piano duets album, and then
Nocturne,
right? Music for two pianos, and then I did the new 3 pieces for cello, and
the new piano,
and then at the end I did a little bit of piano. So but I mean, it was a lovely night. It had a nice atmosphere.
And also soundtracks, or not?
I played a little bit in the piano. I played some music from The Great Gatsby.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
How would you describe yourself as a composer? You would describe yourself as a crossover film composer, because you use, of course, also pop elements with the echo effects sometimes and the electronics.
Well, I would say that I've always done, even when I was doing films, I always did my solo albums. And I would say they're orchestrally based. I'm originally a violinist, so I think strings and the orchestra play a big part in my sound. But yeah, I mean, I'm sort of...
strings is important for you, I think so.
It is really, yeah. And I think I'm one of those composers that, you know, as when I was a kid, I was in lots of bands and stuff. Like, you know, a teenager. I was a bass player. And then
really?
Glasgow is very much a city of, like, rock music and pop music. So I started playing with a lot of different bands. And then I was really into jazz. So I played a lot of jazz. And I studied at the Royal Academy in London.
Yeah, I read it, yes.
So, like, and I'm really into electronic music, so all these influences I like to put into what I'm writing. So I don't really know. Oh, thank you very much. I don't really know what I'd call it, but I mean, I'd say last night the cello pieces, and I'd say the last 5 years the music I've been doing is more classical, really, with electronic elements. I mean, at Celtic Connections there, for the opening concert, they played a violin concerto.
Wow. Thank you so much.
But, you know, I'm quite open about, you know, I love jazz and folk. I mean, you know, influences. Yeah, it's hard not to be influenced by. I mean, you could not be influenced by, let's say, like Massive Attack was. Maybe I worked with them for, I don't know, on and off for about 10 years. And they were a really interesting band. And everything you do kind of goes into you and it kind of influences you, you know. But I'm not... as to what my music is now, I would say it's more classical. Like the records I did for Christian, like I did an album of music from the islands. I don't know if you heard that record.
I heard.
And it was all with a Scottish ensemble, which is a classical ensemble, and we worked with the Sam singers from Lewis, which is this island right off the coast, right up north. And then we did the Nocturnes, which is, I think that was quite classical as well. But, you know, I try not to get caught up with what category I'm in. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if I write something and I feel like last night, the Music for Peace, it was, I don't exactly know what it is, but it's what I wanted to write. It had classical elements and kind of electronic elements. So, I mean, there's lots of people writing music like that now, isn't there? So, I mean, I think in terms of what the industry sees that I do now is more classical. Like when things like Spotify and Apple put my music out, it's always under the classical
category. You have a good
category.
rating in Spotify. As many people. Really? You're a star of Spotify.
Yeah,
I checked it.
I mean, it's lovely to think that music you've written over, I mean, I'm 66 in a month.
Yeah, no, in April, huh? It's your birthday. Yeah.
And it's nice to think that, you know, music you wrote, like say like Romeo and Juliet, people still love playing it. It doesn't seem to really date that much. Do you know what I mean? Because people keep on listening to it, which is it's a privilege, really.
But I think also one of your most famous, in Germany, is really loved, is Love Actually.
That's right, yeah. That's right.
Also, I also, every year they show the film in German television in Christmas time, and I really always watch it.
That's right.
And what do you think about? Do you love also the film, or is it for you a little cheesy? Also, the music is really extraordinary and amazing. I love the whole film, but what do you think about the film?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those films that really seems to divide people. People either love it or they hate it. No, I mean, you know, when you work on something, you have to like it to an extent, or the music's not going to sound right. I mean, there were lots of elements in the film. You know, it covered a lot of ground, didn't it? You know, there was mental illness. There was love where people are cheating on each other. There was lots of different types of love, and I kind of focused on that to write the music. But in terms of, am I happy something I was involved in was successful? Yeah, I am. Because I think when you do film, you want it to be successful. You know, when you and Love Actually has been really successful. BAZ's films have been really successful. Moulin Rouge was huge. So
it was at the premiere at that time also.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I think it wouldn't be honest to say I'm happy that people enjoy what you do. Yeah, that's great.
But for example, how long did you need for Love Actually to compose it? And
I can't remember. Well, in Love Actually, there was, as well as those stories in the film, there was another 2 stories that didn't get in the film. Do you know what I mean? They were cut out the film.
Okay, yeah.
Because it was too long.
Too long, yeah, I know, yeah.
So I think it may be, I don't know, maybe 4 months, something like that, 4 or 5 months. I don't think it was any longer than that, but some of the BAZ Luhrmann films have been much longer. Like, Moulin Rouge was maybe a year.
A year?
And a bit, yeah.
This is long.
It's a long time. And I had to go to Australia. Also with the Great Gatsby, I had to go to Australia. But yeah, I mean, but you do different things. Like, say, for instance, like the piece last night, the audience for classical music is smaller. But I mean, that's okay. So, I mean, sometimes you do a more art house piece with a smaller audience, and sometimes you do a movie that. But of course, you never know what films are successful. Do you know what I mean? Sure. Sometimes you do a film, you think, oh, it's going to be massive, and it does absolutely nothing. So I mean, you can't really tell. I mean, Love Actually, I don't think ever thought it was going to be as successful as it was. I mean, I know that for a fact because they had a get together of everybody from the film, because I think it was, how many years was that, Emma? You know, we all had a meet up, didn't we?
Oh God, it was 20.
20 years. They all had they got everybody together to do a special DVD, and I mean that was amazing. But I mean, I know for a fact that talking to Richard Curtis, I don't think anybody thought it would be that successful. Definitely not. No.
And what do you think, or how is it when you work with a director? You love to talk about the music. Also, they have some ideas and give it to you, and you work really together, or they let you do, or what you prefer?
Well, I think every director is quite different. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I've done a lot of work for Oliver Stone,
I know, yes. Well,
and I think the last thing we
World
did
Trade Center.
was the Snowden film,
Yeah.
and each particular director works in quite a different way. But I would say that, like, say if you take someone like BAZ LUHRMANN and Oliver Stone, they're very different personalities. But the one thing that draws them all together is they're all kind of perfectionists. So that they all are absolutely dedicated to their baby, you know, their project. So it can be quite intense, you know, doing it. But yeah, I mean, I'm not doing so many films now. I've made a conscious decision. Funnily enough, right back to when I started with Christian about 2 or 3 years ago, I'm just not doing so many films now. I'm more focusing on my own work, for better or worse. But yeah, I mean, I do the occasional film, but it's not my main focus anymore. Yeah.
Ennio Morricone told me that his music for Once Upon a Time in the West, he created many pieces of the music before, and then it was played on set to stimulate the actors, you know, and it worked also super good. Yeah. Was that also a case for you sometimes that you composed music and did not watch? Yeah.
Well, I know in the film, the World Trade Center, I wrote a lot of the score just from reading the script.
Oh.
So that I let Oliver hear the music before he even started filming it. So, and he liked the main themes, and so that can happen. I think it's a combination of writing to picture and just writing freely in the vein of the spirit of the movie, and of course, if you have lots and lots of time, like you have with a BAZ LUHRMANN, you create a lot of music, you know, and you have to keep a note of it, because maybe something you wrote at the start was good, but I mean, that was over a year ago.
Yeah.
So you have to be quite, and the people work for him are quite meticulous at logging all the pieces you write, you know, so we don't miss, because obviously I think Moulin Rouge was like about a year and a half, so it's quite easy to forget what you did a year and a half ago, you know, so but most films, I would say, are just about maybe 4 to 6 months. But yeah, but as I say, I'm not really focusing so much on the films anymore.
But do you listen also to a lot to soundtracks to stimulate yourself, or you love soundtracks in general?
I do like soundtracks. I mean, I listen to the scores when you know, I'm a member of BAFTA, you know, and you vote on the films that you like. So I hear all the score. I mean, there's some great film composers, you know. I mean, I like the score for oh God, what's it called again? What's the film Adrian Brody's in?
The Bridge List.
Yeah, I like the score for The Bridge List.
Ah,
I
okay.
thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, it's also an interesting film. And
Interesting
70mm shot.
Yeah.
So the first part is a masterpiece. The second is a little too family drama for me. But the first part is also how it's because the cinematography is really outstanding.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
also, the music is great, really great. Also, it's
really
unique.
I voted for it. So
yeah,
yeah. I thought it was great.
But
cool. Yeah, no. I listened to. I listened to a lot of. I probably maybe in a year maybe buy a couple of soundtracks if I like it. But I mostly buy music that isn't scores. I mostly buy artists' music.
But you have role models as film composer?
Well, everybody loves Morricone.
True, me too.
Yeah, I went to see him play, actually. I went to see him.
And we also love to conduct.
Yeah.
So he invited me often. I was very friends with him. I was in Rome in his palazzo before Sophia Loren lived there. And then he invited my girlfriend and he paid all. He was so nice. They called me. This was in the time of The Hateful Eight,
Is that right?
And then maybe it's interesting for you, Marc. I do with Tarantino. Come, please visit me. And then it was incredible. 4 days we were there. Lived there.
You know what, though? I think that a composer like Morricone almost couldn't exist now. You know what I mean? A little bit like John Williams as well, where the director comes in and you play the tunes on the piano. I think that. I'm sort of old enough. Let's say like Romeo and Juliet. I wrote everything out by pencil. Right? These big sheets of score.
Yeah.
And of course now everything's on computer.
Yeah.
So I'm old enough to know what it was like doing it all Morricone style.
Yes.
And I think I'm a bit nostalgic towards that. I think you miss something when everything's on the computer. But both these composers are great. John Williams is great, but I just don't think. I don't think there's any composer now that could work like that. I think directors expect to hear almost like the finished product as a demo.
Yeah.
So I watched the documentary on John Williams, and you saw Spielberg coming in and he was playing the theme for what film was it? I can't remember which film it was, but anyway, he's just playing everything on the piano. And Steven Spielberg's going, "Oh, that's great," and it was great. But that just doesn't happen now. If I did a film and the director turned up and I played him a few tunes on the piano, they'd be like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah.
Where's the orchestral demo? So anyway, so that's changed a lot.
But also the world of film changed in that way that before in the 1950s and 60s we had a pre-credit sequence, also with the main title, and today often the film just start, and it's also different. Maybe I don't know how it's for you.
I've always enjoyed working with BAZ's films because they're kind of modern, but they kind of reference the old movies as well. It's kind of like something like Moulin Rouge was almost like an old Hollywood movie.
Yes, like an old Hollywood movie. 1940s Hollywood movie.
That's right. I like that. And at the same time, it was quite modern. Another thing is movies are so quick now, cutting. I like the old, like the Sconti movies, where everything's really kind of like Death in Venice. It was all really slow, and now it's like cut.
Too much sometimes.
Yeah, too much. Yeah. Everything's speeded up.
My hero is Kubrick as director.
Right, he's brilliant.
I'm also honored to be friend of the family. I visit his grave.
Is that right?
It's in Childwood Manor. It's near Hertfordshire. in his own garden, you know. Yeah, and so he was also the director of music as a film director, because how he used music in the film. Sometimes he had also original score, but often he used pop songs or classical stuff, you know.
I think he preferred using found music, didn't he?
Yeah,
Ligeti and great scores, but I mean, technically they're not scores, but they work great for the films.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I remember reading the story that he didn't get Ligeti's approval. He just used it. I thought that was...
But at the Ice White Shut premiere, Ligeti was also there. I met him. He was very, very nice, and also, also then this one of the pieces with the cut into Stalin's knife, dim 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 dim, you know, the piano part, and of course he composed also before this piece, but it worked super. Also in 2001 Space Odyssey, Lux Eterna or Atmosphere, so this is the best. Sorry,
I love Ligeti's music, actually.
Yeah, he was a genius.
He definitely was. I tried to study with him when I was at college, and he wrote me a lovely letter back.
Yeah?
Which was really nice of him, you know, just saying he's so busy, and but, you know, he liked my music. And
it's nice.
Yeah, it was nice. I just thought that was a really nice thing to do, to actually write back.
And are you proud of your Scottish descent?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I mean, it's a bit like being German, isn't it? I mean, you're born where you're born. You don't have much choice. But I think Scotland, musically, Scotland has a lot of fascinating things. Like recently, in the last, 25 years, there's been a huge recurrence in the folk culture and a study of the folk music that's been really fascinating. And I think the landscape is very influential. I mean, I don't know if you've been to Scotland.
Never. I just read all books of Robert Louis Stevenson, and so I know the landscape.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you go...
I was in UK, but not in Scotland.
So if you go to the islands, you know, like Mull and Lewis, and then on the right side above Scotland, you've got Orkney and Shetland. I mean, they're very particular cultures with their own music and their own language, really. Yeah, it's a funny thing. I don't really think about being Scottish because you're just born there, you know. But obviously, it's a huge part of my life. You know, I've spent my whole life there.
You still live there or not?
Yeah. I still live in Glasgow.
In Glasgow.
Yeah, and I really like working on the Edge of the Sea album with the Islanders. That was an amazing experience, and Christian helped make that happen.
Super.
Yeah, I mean, more and more, funnily enough, at Celtic Connections, I was working with a really fantastic string group called 13 North.
13 North?
Yeah, and they are all fantastic players, so yeah. They're a bit more classical, but there are folk musicians within the ensemble, so yeah.
I'm half Armenian, half German, but
really?
I feel more Armenian. Even I talk better in German, but from my heart,
you feel Armenian.
I feel Armenian. Also, it's not a national thing. It's more heritage of culture. You know, Armenian music and literature. I really love it. Also painting, and so we have many talented people.
Well, it's all your past, yeah. I did a thing recently. It was my daughter wanted to find out what her heritage was. We did this thing, you can find out where all your family come from. And my family apparently come from 2 small islands off the north of Scotland. And I didn't know that, you know. It was fascinating to think that hundreds of years ago your ancestors were islanders. Maybe that's why I like islands so much. But yeah, and I you know, it's lovely coming to Berlin because it's such a music city.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic, you know.
In every way, for jazz, for classical music, you know, for pop, of course, and techno, electronic stuff.
Do you enjoy living here?
Yes, of course. Even I love and I hate Berlin. In winter, sometimes it's a little hard, yeah, because we have great days, but every day we have 1,500 cultural events. 1,500. It's more than New York City. So it's never...
Every day?
Every day. It's not kidding. Every day in Berlin, 1,500. Also, of course, also independent stuff, yeah. Wow. But you always think you miss something, but it's also good, you know, that you...
You miss 2,499 of them.
Yes. Yes. For example, yesterday but this was my mistake. If I recognized before that it's yesterday, then I would cancel also Scheherazade, because then I know this is more unique. Even it was a super concert yesterday.
Was it great?
Yeah, it was really...
Well, I'll let you off then.
Another thing, you worked also with many pop stars like late Tina Turner, you know, and you composed and produced for her, right?
No, I just arranged.
Arranged?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a long. You're going back a long time there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked with. It was a kind of period where I had a very young family, and I had to think, what can I do that will actually make some money? And I thought I was always good at arranging, and I started to do little orchestral arrangements, but very, very quickly, really quickly, I went from doing quite local things to, and Romeo and Juliet helped, of course, because that was everywhere.
Of course, this was your first famous score.
Yeah, so all of a sudden you're working with people like Tina Turner and Massive Attack and U2.
U2 was also,
But Pavarotti.
Pavarotti?
Miss Sarajevo I did.
Yeah?
So I did lots of... And that kind of... was because of the movies, really. People liked the orchestral work. Well, who's the guy that did that, you know? Who did Romeo and Juliet? So that was it. But I don't arrange any longer. I'm too... There's only enough time in the day to do certain things, isn't there? But I did enjoy arranging, though. It gave me a lot of chance to work with big orchestras, so that by the time I got more and more movies, I was quite what's the word for that? You know, I was used to it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it wasn't such a... You know, I think for a young composer, say you get a big film, and all of a sudden you've got 12 orchestral sessions, and you've not done that. It's quite a thought. You think, oh my God, you know. Whereas with arranging, I've done, 50 big orchestral sessions, and with Tina Turner we did Goldeneye for the Bond film.
Wow. Cool.
So by the time I got into the movies, I'd learned my craft. Do you know what I mean?
Great. The Golden Eye is also sounds really good. A few minutes and then if it's okay for you.
Nice to meet you. I'm jealous you've met I'd love to have met Morricone. My wife's Italian, so she loves Morricone.
I have also beautiful pictures with him because we sit together on his sofa. In the background was a photo of his son, Andrea. And I think it's really, you can find it also when you Google it, the only pictures where he really smiles, you know. Often he looked serious, you know. But we had such a good connection, and we talked English, a little Italian. But my Italian is poor, so mostly talked English, and for one specific things we had also an interpreter, you know. And when he wanted to explain something very special, he was sitting there, but we had such a good connection. And then he was also a hearty guy, and he was really happy that I didn't talk just with him about Italo-Western. My all-time favorite score is Il Clan di Siciliani, the Sicilian clan. And then he was really happy and talked half an hour just about the score.
I love Cinema Paradiso.
Of course, this is also super.
And it's funny because I think his dad wrote one of the melodies in it. And I really love that tune.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
Beautiful tune.
But also Jacques Perrin, he also died. He was leading actor in Cinema Paradiso as an adult, you know. And so he looked also a little like my father. So, but 2 years ago he also died. Also like Alain Delon. They were my favorite French actors. Yeah.
It's always hard when your dad dies.
Absolutely. Even also when Ennio died, I was first. I was angry. You know that I told no, not him. He can't also die. You know. And then later I cried. You know. But first I was angry.
Yeah.
I'm honest.
Yeah. I saw a documentary on him, and it was interesting how all his early stuff was so like avant-garde music. You know.
Yeah.
And I saw that at first he wasn't that keen to do the film thing, you know. I think, I mean, for me, I think it's good that I enjoy doing both. You know, I like writing the more experimental classical music, and I like doing tunes as well. You know, I don't think you have to. I think now you don't have to divide yourself into camps anymore. You know. You don't have to be a film composer or a concert composer. You can be both.
But you are always involved with music, or you can let it go also for a few days and don't work, don't compose, or it's always in your mind.
Always in my mind.
It's always.
Yeah, definitely. I know it's crazy that, isn't it? But then again, I've never known it any other way. Maybe it keeps you sane. You know, it keeps you. There's always something to think. Because I've always got projects I want to write. Like right now, there's maybe 3 or 4 projects I'd like to do. So, like, you know, if I'm in a plane or something like that, you know, I'm thinking about how to solve particular problems in them, and yeah, that's always in your mind.
And will you work again with BAZ or with Oliver? Is there any new project?
I'm maybe doing something for Oliver Stone's son, John Stone, that Oliver is in. The trouble with the film thing is it takes up so much time. That's the problem with it. It's like 6 months out of your life, you know, and I feel I'm enjoying more just making my own records. And or even like the piece I wrote last night for Lena. I kind of get more out of that now than the film thing. So, but I mean, I'd never say never be doing a film. Yeah, I mean, if Baz asked me to do a film or Oliver, I'd definitely think seriously about it. It's always good fun working with both of them. You know, and I worked a lot with a guy called Peter Mullen.
Yeah,
who's a Scottish director.
Peter Mullen, yeah.
No, I mean, generally speaking, I've enjoyed doing the films, and it hasn't been like a horrible experience. It's been good, you know. But I think you've got to, you know, I want to give myself time to write more music now, and that's what. Well, really, the last 5 years I've been doing a lot more of that, you know.
And you visited sometimes also the set. And you have maybe also some reactions of actors on your music or not?
That's a good question. I do. Yeah, like the Great Gatsby, I would go to the set and see it being filmed, and Moulin Rouge was like an amazing set, you know, it was like massive elephant, you know. I don't think I've ever had a comment from an actor. You know, you work very closely, like say like in The Great Gatsby, because it was the most recent one for me. He'd film during the day, so I'd maybe go and see a wee bit of that, and then I'd go back to my studio And then at night time, I would have my meeting with BAZ and play on what I've done that day. So your relationship is really with the director. I mean, you see the actors, like Leonardo and all that acting and being filmed, but, and obviously in Moulin Rouge, they sang and stuff, but normally I don't really have anything to do with the actors, just the director and maybe if there's a music supervisor.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's about it. I mean, you see them and you get to know them a little, but you don't really. With a director, it's a very close relationship. You know what I mean? It's almost like you're somebody's best pal for 5 months,
Yeah.
But that's the trick of being a good director. Like everybody will feel that with a director. The art director, which is BAZ's wife, but the actors will think that as well. Everybody will think, they've got a real close relationship with the director, but that's why they're good directors, I guess. But I do admire a lot of the directors I've worked for. They're amazing people. I'm glad I'm not one. I don't fancy. It's such a hard job, I think.
But for a German film, you never worked, or you correct me? No, I don't think so, right?
No.
Nobody asked you, or what?
I don't know. I'd love to. I mean, I love Germany, actually. I think Berlin is probably my favourite city in Europe, yeah. I like Lisbon as well. And in Paris, I got to know a lot because I got a lot of work there. I mean, everybody loves Paris. So. But Berlin is interesting if you're a musician because there's so many great musicians here and you can go and see so much. I always say that, I'd love to come here for a month a year and just take it all in, but life always gets in the way.
I love also Vienna, of course.
Yeah, I don't really know Vienna.
I was there so many times. I love Vienna. Vienna loves me. The people there, and it's also a very high cultural city for music. Also film. The Austrians do very good film. I think better than the Germans. So yeah.
So I'll have to go there. I had been there, but I didn't. I literally went there, did a concert, and left. So I don't know at all.
One question: when you now compose, it's also different. Sometimes you sit on the piano, or you also sit on the computer, or how does it work?
I think both.
Okay.
I'm a pianist, so. But it's funny, as I've got older, I tend just to think the music now, and then try and play it, which is a weird thing, because I think when I was younger, I would always create it on the piano, and then take it to the computer and orchestrate it. But now I tend to just think the piece, and then I surprise myself sometimes when I try and play what I'm thinking, because it's kind of often been quite difficult keys.
Yeah.
So I tend just to think it in my head now.
And do you have a favorite child of all of your soundtracks, or everything is, every score is maybe important to you?
I like the soundtrack I did for World Trade Center. It was kind of like solo cello, and I like. It's hard to pick one out. I think the score for Far From the Wedding Crowd.
Far From the, of course. Yeah.
We did also a very good violinist in that.
You know also the original film, also the first from the 1960s. Yes, I met also Terence Stamp.
You did not, did you?
Yeah, he's a lovely guy. We had a really good time together.
You have to write a book, maybe you have.
Yeah, well, many people asked me. Also, I did 2 books, one about my favorite actor, Oscar Werner. I wrote a book, but many people ask me also about my experiences with some people, and so to do, because I was always the youngest when I started. I was 15. Yeah, and so with my magazine, and so I published when I was 13 first articles, and then I was like a child to everybody, but with a knowledge and passion.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, the one thing about film is that, see, when you write a piece of music, and I remember in Baz's film, there's a scene where Leonardo throws the bottle of champagne in the swimming pool, and the other actor, I can't remember his name. Do you know his name, Emma? You know that? Anyway, the main, other than Leonardo, the other main actor.
Yeah.
It's just Emma's going to find. Anyway, he says to him, Gatsby, you can't repeat the past. And the bit of music I wrote after that, and the acting, and the lighting, and it just made you realise why you did film, because when it all comes together perfectly, it's magic. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or like say in a Morricone film and Cinema Paradiso, there are just like magic moments in it where the film, the acting, the directing,
it's true.
it just makes something you can't really describe.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
All come together and create something
wonderful.
Wonderful, yeah.
So
magically.
So that's what's good about film.
Mm.
What?
Toby, yeah.
He's a great actor.
Thank you.
He's a great actor.
Yeah.
But just remember when I saw that film back, that bit where he does that and Leonardo DiCaprio walks up the stairs, the music and everything is just perfect. It's even like a great piece of music, isn't it? There's a moment in every piece, a great work. They're just moments of perfection. And I guess that's what you strive for, isn't it? Yeah.
It was a good sentence. Greg, thank you so much.
Yeah,
it was really my pleasure to meet you.
I can't believe you spent so much time in Morricone. He's probably my favourite film composer.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
He's still in my heart for the end of my life.
Yeah. Well, he had a good life, didn't he? I mean, that's the way to look at it, isn't it?
I had also a wonderful woman. She supported him a lot, And he was just a little sometimes sad that the people just remember most of it Italo Western soundtracks. He preferred also his musica assoluta. Yeah, this was very important for him.
Yeah, well, it's the same as me. And it's very important for me to make modern records.
Mm-hmm.
I never ever wanted just to do films. Because it keeps you fresh as well.
Mm-hmm.
When you do a film, you've put out a couple of your own albums and you've got that out your system. So, yeah, I wouldn't like to be, people who just do film after film after film. No, it's not me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, lovely to meet you.
No, it was really great. Yeah. So hopefully you come back to Berlin and we meet each other again. And then next time I'll come also to your concert. So.